All right, give me a minute. Open sesame. Easy peasy.
Done Pete.
How many bitcoins does it take to get some goddamn respect in this town?
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're enjoying your day today. Now, we did have a little bit of what seemed like a crazy sell-off at first overnight. In fact, Bitcoin got all the way down to $17,650. Now, we did see this wick get bought up quite fast, which shows that people were ready to pounce on these lower prices, you know, kind of like, March 2020, 6,000 hodl, September 2020, 10,000 hodl. Bitcoin dips from 18.6 to 18.3. Okay, now is the time to buy. But seriously, having a look at what is going on right now, we are seeing these dips get bought up and bought up and bought up. However, we are seeing that the fear and greed is in extreme greed territory. Now, Bitcoin has essentially been going parabolic for the past month and a few weeks now. So some people are saying this has to be the top. Bitcoin has to cool off. There's going to be the 30% correction. The whales are going to be taking their profits. Brace yourself and get ready for the major crash. Now, one thing I can tell you is that when we are in a bear market, no matter how much good news comes out, the price just continues to fall and fall and fall, even lower than you ever can anticipate it can fall. I mean, having a look back here, we had a massive 84% correction from the top of last time to this time, whereas now we are seeing a massive bull run where no matter how much bad news comes out, the price just continues to rally. So in today's video, what we're going to discuss is why the next 24 hours is extremely critical for Bitcoin. We're going to talk about whether or not this is the top. I want to talk about something that is happening right now with the Bitcoin whale, something really interesting as far as this piece of data that I came across this morning that is totally 100% evidence that we are dealing with a very different bull rally this time around compared to the last time in 2017. I want to discuss the fact that Bitcoin could be getting ready to do something very, very big. I'll give you a hint, it has to do with the stock to flow ratio. And I also want to talk about the supply shock yet again. And something that actually could triple the price of Bitcoin. And I'll tell you what, it wouldn't take a lot to have this happen. So if all that sounds good to you today, you know what to do. Also, today, final day for the ledger. If you're interested, drop a comment below and we will, give that away to some lucky winner tomorrow. Now, having a look at Bitcoin, like I said, we have been going absolutely parabolic. Switching this back to the daily, you can see this is really insane. It's almost getting difficult to chart this thing, right? We're just basically going straight up in the air. Now, the interesting thing, and I think we could basically for now get rid of this ascending wedge, right? We did fall to the downside. Like I said, ascending wedges do usually have that breakdown to the downside. And in yesterday's video, I told you there was a huge sell wall at $19,000 for Bitcoin. Well, we got up to 18,927. So we were like 80 bucks away and we saw the price start to fall. Now, interestingly enough, and you know this is something I like to see on the charts, is that we did have a nice bounce right here. Now, this bounce was the previous resistance. We got stopped out here and we got stopped out here on a few occasions, right? When we thought we were in the asymmetrical triangle, which we broke out of a lot faster than I thought we were going to. But the point being, we've now actually had that resistance act as support. However, we are forming a bit of a downwards channel. So, Bitcoin may try to come back up again to the 18,600-ish level, and we might get rejected again, potentially bouncing around. We do have a lot of resistance previously here on this uptrend. So I am hoping that that will act as our support. Now, we have seen that we have completely shattered the all-time high close on the CME futures, but within the next 24 hours, we have the most critical weekly close on the spot chart. Now, you can see over here, the weekly close is at 16,176. Now, I would hope we don't fall that much between now and the next 24 hours, but even more bullish than that is where we actually had the wick at the top right here. You can see we actually had this wick, and that level is at 17,168. So, my friends, if we can close within the next 24 hours on the spot chart with Bitcoin above $17,168, which does give us quite some leeway, that means Bitcoin could even fall $1,000 overnight, and it would still be incredibly, incredibly bullish. And you might be asking yourself, should I be buying Bitcoin at these levels? Hasn't Bitcoin got up too much? Well, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. Dollar cost averaging has proven to be the #1 strategy for Bitcoin accumulation. HODLing long-term has, for the most part, worked out over 98% of the time if you didn't panic sell. But guess what? 18K Bitcoin, $18,000 Bitcoin. Would you believe that people are still buying? And you want to know who's buying? Well, you can see right here, Grayscale added 10,550 Bitcoins to their custody in just the last 24 hours. As a comparison, for example, the miners can only mine 900 Bitcoin per day. We are talking about this extreme supply shock that I mentioned yesterday. We're going to go into it a little bit more today. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, so what does this mean? Well, I was actually over on Reddit, and shout out to Nullius123. Excellent breakdown of what's happening right now. So, Nullius says, people and companies and family offices buy shares in the Grayscale Bitcoin fund, and the company is obliged to buy Bitcoin to cover those purchases. But buying Bitcoin through Grayscale means paying a whopping premium, a pretty high premium, in fact, over that spot price. So if Bitcoin is 18,300 today or whatever it is, Grayscale, they might be paying 18.6, 18.7, maybe even more, right, than that. I actually think it's even higher than that, believe it or not. So basically what this means is they're doing this for convenience. Now, you can also put this purchase into tax-efficient investment vehicles in the US. The rate of buying is incredible, over 10 times the rate of the mining reward, like I just said. So, what does this mean? In other words, rich individuals, high net worth individuals, are piling into Bitcoin. They don't care about the premium. They are lazy and they don't want to hold it. So they're paying a premium to have a custody solution do it. And, ordinary Joes, they're not piling in yet. No one's paying attention. The Bitcoin Google search, or just Google interest overall, Google Trends is showing that no one is paying attention to Bitcoin right now, except for the high net worth individuals. Now, something that's interesting too, is you think to yourself, well, all of these old whales that have been holding Bitcoin, they're the OGs, they have strong hands, they're hodling, they're not selling. No, in fact, this is why this time is different. A lot of the Bitcoin has actually shifted from some of the OGs into the bigger institutions. We're actually selling into them. Willy Woo, he is an on-chain analyst. He looks at data specifically just on-chain that you can actually see between wallets, exchanges, etc. He says that these OG sellers are actually selling, and they've been selling into the rally since around $13,000. He says it used to be that peaks in destruction or dormancy would be a bad sign for the markets, as old Bitcoins have more experienced masters, or so we would think, thus smarter money. This would predict a price drop, right? So the price should theoretically drop, right? We should have a massive correction. Well, these days, that's not always the case. In fact, we've seen OG whales selling bottoms. We've seen large whales selling at the bottom. Just because they're whales doesn't necessarily mean that they're smarter. It just means that they have more Bitcoin, right? I mean, that is literally just the definition. But now the smart money has actually arrived. Those who are not looking for a quick flip, those who are looking for long-term holding. While there's a lot of FOMO and strong fundamentals being blasted out, however, he does say clearly take caution. The markets are in fact overheated. I agree. we are a little bit overbought potentially. Like I said, I don't know when we're going to have the correction. Maybe it'll happen tomorrow. Could, right? We might get the rejection we've all been waiting for. But I do believe that any retracements from this point on would be healthy retracements and amazing opportunities to actually scoop up some Bitcoins. Now, just having a look at some of these whales, I do like to look at the whale clusters as they're referred to. Now, these blue bubbles, if you don't know, or teal, whatever color they are on your screen, they represent large accumulation areas for Bitcoin whales, right? High net worth individuals or just wallets. We don't really know who owns them. Now you could see there was a lot of purchasing at around the $14,900 level. That level actually held very nicely here for a bounce and a second bounce. We saw more accumulation in the 1500s, and just recently, zooming in right here, you can see that there was a lot of whale accumulation between 16,278 and 16,411. Now, what does this data mean? Well, this data means that there are a lot of whales, I don't know who they are, but they were purchasing at these levels. They're not looking to sell down below to 15.4, right? They bought, they're holding. So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of stability, a lot of massive quantities of Bitcoin hodlers that are not looking to sell down or below those prices. So I wouldn't anticipate anything really too volatile below that. Now, it's still possible, and I'll show you in the chart in a second. But speaking about the, aggregated open interest on Bitcoin futures, we have broken yet another milestone. We're up over 7 billion. 4 exchanges alone, just being OKX, Binance, Bybit, and CME, have more than 1 billion outstanding derivative contracts. And the thing is that this time we are seeing a lot of this is spot driven. Now, having a look right here, time to get realistic. If this is potentially the top, okay? The short-term top. I don't think this is the long-term. I'm not thinking we're going to go into another year of a bear market. I just don't see that in the foreseeable future for Bitcoin. But, assuming we take this from the top right here, and let's actually bring this down, to a nice 30% correction, right? That could actually bring us to about $13,350, which interestingly enough, if you look at the box right there, and we actually draw on top of it, or it just disappeared, but pretend the box is still there, and we come down to this level, you could see a nice healthy correction, potentially down to that $13,500 level, and Bitcoin would still be on its trajectory upward, and there would be nothing bearish about that. The thing is people don't like when prices pull back, but you have to understand that that is simply part of the way markets work. It ebbs, it flows, there's ups and there's downs, right? So even if Bitcoin was to have that retracement, we would still be forming in this ascending triangle, which is a textbook bullish pattern. And the fact that this has been happening over the course of 3 years, building, grinding, accumulating, shows me that this time it is in fact different and something big is about to happen. Now, it might not happen this month, but as you can see right here, like Plan B says, current Bitcoin price action is nice, but what we are waiting for is that real jump, like the red arrows you could see in 2013 and 2017. Now, you notice on the stock to flow, there starts to be this sort of slow grind, and then there's a break right here where we have this huge gap between the dots. And you can see again right here, we had it back in 2016, 2017. Again, we had that huge gap. Now you can see right here, zooming in, we have not had that yet. We are still, even though it does look somewhat parabolic on the charts, we are still just grinding away. We haven't actually had that breakaway moment where the markets start to FOMO. Now, if you want to have a look at when that usually happens, well, it usually happens after the all-time high is broken. In fact, you can look at data statistically showing Bitcoin. Once we do break those all-time high levels, that's really when the FOMO starts to kick in. And we all know that's why 20,000 is such a big number for Bitcoin. That is that psychological all-time high, perfectly round number. And I'll tell you what, a lot of big traders out there are worried, okay? These guys, everybody thinks that these big traders, they're all smart, they all know what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing, okay? Everyone out there is basically just making educated guesses, myself included. I don't know what's going to happen. I look at a chart, I infer the data, and I come up with a conclusion, right? That's the best that we can do moving forward. Now, long term, of course, I know the price is going up. Short term, things could get crazy. But here's an interesting point. And this was expressed by Dan Moorhead. Now, he's the CEO of Pantera Capital, and he talked about why he's so excited about Bitcoin. He goes into, how it's different this time around, same old spiel we've been talking about. But he goes on to say that, with Bitcoin trading well over $18,000 today, you have, obviously we worry about the regulatory hurdles, right? But he says that they're not really much of an inconvenience. He says Bitcoin has reached what he refers to as its escape velocity, while regulators, especially in the US, have been coming down hard on crypto businesses, ICOs, things of that nature. Bitcoin is being trusted by more traditional players with every passing day. With Bitcoin investments catching up and regulators around the world trying to understand it, Dan Moorhead also noted that even at $18,000 for a Bitcoin, that he believes Bitcoin was at least 52% below its long-term regression. So he's saying it could potentially be even higher. As the market and price get tougher to buy in or get filled, the better it will be in the long run. And he finally concluded saying that when you're buying absolute highs is when the market is going to keep going up. People are buying the top. They're buying the top. They're buying the top. And you're having big players come in and push the price upwards. Now, if you want me to break down just how easy it is to push this price up, I'm going to tell you in a few minutes something that could easily triple the Bitcoin's price, and it would not take a lot of effort. Let me get into that in just a bit. But discussing the supply shock, I know, after this we'll drop it. We'll stop talking about it. But just to break down what Mira Cristano said, PayPal is seeing about 20 to 25 million Bitcoin buying dollars in Bitcoin buying a day. That's all the day's supply. 144 blocks per day mined, 6.25 Bitcoin per block, 19,000 price, 17.1 million. What happens when Asia gets in the game? Now, some people say, well, how do you know that PayPal's actually buying it? Well, we've had it confirmed. They are buying it, and it is backed. They're not buying it for their reserves. They're buying it to match, to meet their customer demands. They are using Paxos. The Bitcoin is backed 1-to-1. So we've already confirmed that. That's not speculation. And like Lark Davis said, PayPal and Cash App combined are buying more than all of the newly produced Bitcoin. Grayscale is buying more than both of them combined. What does that mean? Moon. Well, let's talk about something that could literally moon the price. And this comes from the CEO of the world's biggest publicly traded business intelligence firm. That's right, I'm talking about Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy? Why did I want to say Microsoft? I don't know. But anyway, point being, there are people, he says, that'll put 500 million into a bad idea because they have the money. He says if you've got $100 billion in your portfolio, you might bet 500 million expecting you'll get 100-to-1 ratio 1% of the time or 5% of the time and think, hey, that's a good idea. So I think that's why everything's accelerating. He says it's a fire. No, it's a campfire, then a bonfire, then a forest fire. Then you're like, I don't get it. Why is this fire spreading twice as fast? Well, we've all seen how forest fires can spread, right? He says this is because of the exponential process. This was the interview, by the way, that he did with Once Bitten podcast. Go check it out. Definitely check it out. But just to kind of summarize, he says it's important that 100 million people embrace Bitcoin, but let's say there are just 10 people that can triple the price of Bitcoin. You don't believe me? 10. This is not like Facebook. Nobody ever bought 1 billion friends to Facebook. This is like when a person with $10 billion decides that they want to adopt this network and they put maybe 2 or 3 billion on the network. That's going to be more monetary energy that flowed into the network than the first 10 million people put into the network. It's a 10 million to 1 gain. Here's the other thing. When a person with $10 billion puts $10 billion on the network, which I can't imagine somebody investing their entire $10 billion into Bitcoin, but this is just theoretical. He says they've got friends with $10 billion, you have Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway CEO. He plays bridge with Bill Gates, Microsoft founder, and they talk with Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO of Facebook. So when this hits that social network, it's like 1 billion to 2 billion to 4 billion to 8 billion. And those 4 decisions alone of just those 4 people, literally have more impact on the network than the first 10 million blocks originally. So the point that he's trying to make is once you have these high net worth individuals allocating, getting involved, holding, they're trying to diversify whatever it is, you could see the price move very, very, very fast. And like I said, once these millionaires, and there's only about 46 million of them in the world, realize that there's only about 21 million Bitcoin, most of them are accounted for, about 4 million are lost. The hodlers are already holding. How many does that really leave for the rest of them? Well, to give you the basic data, about 12%. So there's about 12% of the Bitcoin left, and most of the world doesn't have any. You do the math. And that being said, I do want to end on a little bit of a warning. As you see right here, Pickle Finance lost 20 million in the latest DeFi exploit. It had a 50% crash. This isn't to say, hey, if you invested in Pickle, sucks for you. I just wanted to let you guys know that as the market is heating up, as Bitcoin does start to go crazy and the exuberance does get out of control, people are going to get more excited. They're going to take bigger risks, and they're going to start risking, money on some of these altcoins and things like that. And I just want to tell you guys to just be safe. There's going to be a lot of altcoins coming out, a lot of projects coming out. Some of them will have good opportunities to make money. You obviously have to be patient, hodl, but some of them might not be too great. Now, I'm not saying Pickle is or isn't a good investment. I'm just telling you to be careful. If you put $1,000 into Pickle yesterday, you now have $500. If you put 20,000, you now have 10,000. You get the point. So please be careful out there. Be safe, guys. Also, do remember tomorrow is the Ledger Nano S giveaway, and Ledger will be doing a big giveaway tomorrow, by the way. Make sure you watch the video for information on how to get an awesome Black Friday deal. That'll be in tomorrow's video, but for now, that is it for me, guys. So having a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is chugging along. Let's see if we can break above this resistance. But like I said, even if we did have that 30% pullback, where is my chart? Where is my chart? Down to those levels. I don't even know what I did with it. Did I delete it? Oh, here it is. Down to these levels. We're still going upwards. The trend is your friend until the end. And I do believe, though, that the next major pullback is probably the last one. And I know it's been said before. You're probably saying I've said that 100 times. Maybe I have. I don't know. But I'm telling you, okay, if we get it, that could be the time. That could be the time. That could be the final dip. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every day. If you are not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Honestly, I think we have some pretty good content over here at CryptoZombie. I do have a free Telegram group if you want to hang out, talk crypto. That is below in the descriptions. Also, links below. Don't forget, if you are trading over on Bybit, they do have a $610 bonus potentially for new customers, and actually for customers that are already signed up. Check the links below for that. And that is it for me today. So thank you so much, guys. You rock. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.